pass it on.
Thank you.
My name is Jonah, and I work with Matt.
My name is Andrew, also work with Matt, live in Wilmington.
My name is Mirabella. I also work with Matt, and I live in Wilmington.
Hey, my name is Io. I also work with Matt, and I live in the Glasgow area.
Hi, my name is Ashley. I'm from Smyrna.
I'm Pam. I'm from Savannah, Delaware.
I'm Andrew, Smyrna, Delaware.
Thank you.
My name is Floyd Bogo, and I'm in Newcastle, Delaware.
Good evening, everybody. God is good. And all the time. Yeah, we are here to support our son, our brother. My name is Mrs. Mogo, Dedida Mogo. My son.
Hey, bud. You got a good mom. So get ready.
Name is Boniface Jarodi, Newark, Delaware.
Lucy Gashaka from Newark, Delaware.
Thank you, Lucy.
My name is Ruth, and I am a big supporter for Matt Maya.
Doreen Otieno Wells, Wilmington, Delaware. Matt Myers.
Oh, they're commando.
My name is Collins. I don't. Wilmington, Delaware. I live in Wilmington, Delaware. I'm a student at UD, so I'm not really a resident. Yeah.
Good evening. My name is Francisca Ilungu.
I'm Jambo. Naitwa Andrew Mwema, Newark, Delaware.
Thank you, Andrew. Right, first.
Hi, I'm Marcy, and I'm a UD student living in Delaware.
Thank you.
I'm Wendy, George, Delaware.
Hi, I'm Christine Mayaka from Middletown.
Stella Mayaka, Middletown.
Rosa Makoto, Middletown.
Thank you.
Frederick Richard, Newark, Delaware. Peter Draghi, University of Delaware.
Dominic Moriongi, Newark, Delaware.
Dr. Tabasco Bayan, Tabasco University. Dr. Rocha Bayan, Delaware.
So, if you remember, we're no longer strangers. I know we have not introduced everybody, and I'm not going to introduce you yet.
Hi, I'm Jana Mama. I'm from Bear, Delaware. I'm Jacinta's daughter. I would like to say thank you all for coming out tonight and to give my mom a big applause for just getting this whole thing together and for bringing out Matt Myers.
Hi, my name is Lisa Bua. Those two people over there are my lovely, lovely parents, Sam and Julie, and I'm from Newcastle.
Those two people you have had.
Jumbo. My name is Walter Nyadiba, they call me Simba sometimes, and I'm from Newark, Delaware. Asanteni sana for coming out.
Our designer. My name is David Amakobe. I'm from Middletown, Delaware.
So, we're no longer strangers, we're friends, we're family, we're united. DJ, give us a song as we get ready to hear a word from none other than, Are you going to be ready after this song to say something?
Okay, yes, of course.
All right, let's wait for the song.
Thank you so much for everything. I appreciate it. Yeah, of course, man.
All right, now it's the time we introduce none other than Mr. Ayo. It's your moment, sir.
That's not. That's the only spot you can do. That's okay. Thank you guys all for coming today. Really appreciate it. Just very briefly, just want to announce tomorrow we are going to the Wilmington Police Athletic League. It is a polling location in Wilmington, Delaware. We'll be arriving there at 1:30 p.m. We're going to be going there to actually accompany our future Governor Matt Meyers as he's placing his vote for his candidacy as well. So our team, we're all back there. We're all taking signings for everybody that came in. So if you guys have not signed in, please refer back to that table and make sure we get your information. We'll be giving every single person here a call tomorrow morning to remind you guys of the event tomorrow. And as much as you guys want to support Matt, you guys will want to make sure that he is elected. We would appreciate if you guys can also channel that energy for tomorrow's event as well. We really need you guys. We have a goal or a metric of as many people that we want there, and we can really achieve it with your help too. So we really hope to see you guys as well tomorrow. And then lastly, just a huge thank you to all the hosts for this event, Jacinta and the Kenyan Mobilization Group. You guys did a phenomenal job, and I'm honestly blessed to be here too. So thank you guys so much.
Thank you, Mr. Ayo, for the remarks. So I'm going to do something new that I did plan for it. Mr. Meyer, I'm going to sample. This is a non-scientific study. Take a couple of these new voters who are supporting you. Let's hear what they're going to say. What are their concerns? If there are many. So I'm going to ask for volunteers, at least 3. Who is ready to tell us what are their concerns so our future governor can know what we're ready to do? Do we have any takers on this? I needed somebody to say something. DJ, give me some music as I wait for somebody to be ready. All right.
One of the concerns that I have, and I think the students also have the same concern, is for the students. Most of the students who get to high school and they do not have any papers to continue to pursue their further education studies. It becomes very difficult when they are not non-documented. So they can't continue. They can't get grants. They can't get into universities that easily some of them get stuck going maybe to community colleges, and even that is also hard. So that's one of my concerns. And also just immigration in general for the other population. But mainly it's for those kids who perform so well in high school but can't continue.
Thank you. So you have heard the Kenyan parents are very intelligent young people who need to go to college. How do we assist them to get the education they need? I don't want to amplify that further. We have a taker here.
So, my name is Peter Daki. I'm a student at the University of Delaware. As you have heard, we have a couple of us here, and we are already transitioning into the job market. And as you know, the state is one of the biggest employers. How are you going to ensure that the international students who come to study in Delaware, they get a chance to work in the state and in other corporations around the Delaware? Yeah, that's my question.
We need another volunteer. The last one. So.
Okay, my name is Ruth, and I just want to ask this question on behalf of everybody, just anyone. Okay, I had written it down. Okay, like for me, I know apprenticeship programs are very important. It's a very important program for the young people and the young ones who are coming up. And I have been doing my research. I don't know, maybe I might be wrong, but maybe you can enlighten us. If you have any plans of having like solar energy apprenticeship here in Delaware that can help us and the young people to get into, because right now I am seeing like solar energy is the way forward here. So would like to know if you have any plans for that, because I know we have other apprenticeship programs here in Delaware, but I'm asking about the solar energy. Thank you.
I'm generous a little bit here. Do we have an addition? Anyone want to say something? My friend here, I know you want to say something. Be quick.
Well, that's putting me on the spot. Matt is my friend, and I'm always excited to campaign for him. But just to highlight a few issues of concern as a Delawarian and a voter, and a young parent, or rather a parent. Now, just to echo what my sister over there said, Delaware is known for great sons and daughters who are working hard in school. But we are one of the few, actually about 4 states in the nation, without a medical school. And I don't even know how that happens. Why should we have doctors coming from elsewhere to treat us while we have our own sons and daughters who want to go to medical school, but they don't have a school within Delaware? I think, Matt, if you can address that, and we have a medical school here, which we can call our own, that would be beautiful. Number 2, the mental health issue in this nation, in Delaware. We have our young people, so many that I know, who are being affected by mental issues. I don't know what we are putting as a state. When we go across, like in Pennsylvania, they have so many centers for young people where they can get addressed, where they can be taken care of issues of stress, issues of depression. Are you putting something which can be, robust for these states so that we support one another, we support our young people, and even adults who are also struggling? And then last, but not least, I was trying to woo somebody from New York to come and live in Delaware. And they said, in Delaware, you can only operate if you have a car. Is there something we can do to have a public transport which is robust, which can work to help young people who are coming around? We have people in UP. When they want to move around, it's difficult. One student told me to transfer from UB to Wilmington, they take 2 hours. That is insane. Is there something the state can do to at least bring in some public transport which is going to help at least in bigger hubs to enable the student living maybe in UD to go to the coast in Dover at Dell State quickly within an hour or less. But at 3 hours within this little state, it's insane. So Matt, I think I believe in you. Do something so that we can transform this great state into a better state than where you found it. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh yes, I'm going to forget you. These youths, these corporations.
How you doing, everybody? My name is Kareem. That's my wife, Patricia. My question is for kids who don't want to necessarily pursue college in high school. They maybe want to pursue blue-collar trades, electrician, plumbing, HVAC, things like that. Do you have any ideas of scholarships or grants you might want to give to those people who don't necessarily want to go to college? I haven't heard much of that going on, but these are trades that need these are the skills that need to pay the bills, basically. So, is there anything you have any plans on doing something like that for the youth?
Hi, pleasure to meet you. Once again, I'm Patricia. We own a landscaping company that we opened up about a year ago. And in the midst of us gaining clientele, we get a lot of phone calls from the elderly community. And we love the calls, but we're often met with, we need the grass cut, and they always have a lot of grass, because we're in Delaware, but they have no funds for it. And I was saying to my husband, I would like to still meet their needs. However, I wanted to know if there was some way to reach out for support in order to build maybe like a nonprofit style situation where we can provide access to different companies in the community to go out and donate their services to those in need, whether it be elders or disabled. Okay, thank you.
Well, I've been advised that Matthew was supposed to answer these questions as we go by, but I did in an orthodox way. Now let me do a little demo here before I introduce you. You know Matt Meyers, he's a good guy. He's from Delaware. He has been to Kenya. He will do a good job, and I know for sure he'll be a wonderful governor for the first state of Delaware.
Yes.
Now you know what. Matt Meyers, please, once you take a bite, may you take a moment to talk to your constituents.
Thank you.
just, also just like, doing more things for Delawareans on a bigger playing field and not just in Newcastle County. So his motto is really just a cleaner, greener, and affordable Delaware for all.
So getting into Matt's early life, he was born in Bay, Michigan, and he grew up in Wilmington, Delaware, just like some of us here. Well, sorry, not some of us here, but some of us here. He attended Wilmington Friends, and then he graduated from Brown University with a degree in poli-sci and comp-sci. He then furthered his education at the University of Michigan Law School, and then while he was in high school, he actually worked on Joe Biden's first presidential campaign in 1988, and through that, he gained more experience while attending Brown University.
So, like most of us here, we're all Kenyan, and we all know that Matt Meyer has strong allyship for the Kenyan community. So we're going to get into his life in Kenya and what he did there. So after college, Matt Meyer went on to travel to Kenya, where he fully immersed himself with the diverse cultures of the Kenyan people. He learned Swahili and even jump-started his shoe business, Eco Sandals, in the short time he was there. Eco Sandals are shoes made from recyclable materials and are currently being sold in 17 different countries. Matt has continuously proved himself to be an ally of the Kenyan community and is utilizing Kenya's concerns and ideas to improve the quality of life for Delawareans nationwide.
So, Matt has actually made a lot of policies, and he's actually done a lot of things to help better the community in Delaware. The Meyer administration eliminated wasteful spending and streamlined government funds to better serve the community. They created internships for thousands of youth and jobs across the country, as well as launching NTC Innovates, which helps start and grow small businesses. Meyer's team also stressed the importance of financial literacy and diplomatic literacy among the youth. This led to a high school course centered around democracy and diplomacy. But these are just a few of his works.
So, with all that being said, Matt Meyer has really shown himself to be someone who can be a great governor for Delawareans and also listen to your concerns and needs, as he's doing here today. So take that all in consideration and go vote Matt Meyer at the polls on September 10th.
Let's hear it again for these two girls. What a great job. I'm Jumbo. I'm Jumbo. How about you, Zane? Harambe! Sahani! Baskeli! I've always wanted to do that. Most times I speak, I can't do that. If I stand up and say, Harambe, they'll look at me like I'm nuts. It's great to be here. Many of you, I know this is kind of like getting together with family from various parts of my life. I have so many stories from Kenya, from Uganda. People who, many of you in this room I met as strangers in the course of my journey. But you've become more than friends, almost family. Family, I can say. Just in the with my baby, okay. First, I just want to say thank you to those that put this event together. Let's hear it for Jacinta, please. She worked so hard. I don't know what you do every day, because you're working 25 hours a day, 8 days a week on my campaign now, and I cannot thank, and family, I cannot thank you enough. Yeah. To Kenyan women in the USA, thank you.
I know I was introduced to you years ago. The first time I remember you, we were in the home of a family that had suddenly lost the life of a loved one. And the work you do, not just tonight, but the work you do every day in building community here for people far away from home is really inspiring. Kwitu, of course, Kabaso Foundation, thank you for everything you do and everything you did. Apostle Lucy Ministry, Ray Rachel Kitchen, and of course, Washibu, the DJ, and family. Thank you so much. As these girls articulated, I'm Matt Meyer. Among other things, I think I'm trying to be the first Swahili-speaking governor in the history of the United States. Which is funny, you know, when Washibu started playing the music, thank you. When Washibu started playing the music, it brought me back. In 1992, I was a student in Nairobi. Studying at the University of Nairobi, studying under Kibuthe Kibwana, which means we're both old men now. And there was a group called SONU. I don't know what SONU, it was Students Uprising Against President Moi. And I was very interested in politics. I think you mentioned I studied poli-sci, I worked for the Biden campaign. And they had a rally at Kamkunji in Nairobi. And everybody said, they still do rallies there, Kamkunji. They brought together my program, the study abroad, and they said absolutely no one is allowed anywhere near this rally. So if you knew me, I said, okay. I didn't know anything about this rally, but when they told me I couldn't go, Levi, don't listen to this. when they told me I couldn't go to the rally, I said, I gotta find a way to see this rally, right? Because it bothered me, all these Americans, we go to Kenya, we take our safari, we say how nice it is, we stay in the Serena Hotel, and then we go back and say Kenya's such a beautiful country. But based on what I saw, there were really serious problems. And I wanted to see Kenyan politics. And in fact, anybody go to, I don't know if they still do this, you know Jivanji Gardens, in the middle of Nairobi, they have the People's Parliament. Has anyone ever seen that? The People's Parliament. It's like you can just walk up and say you're an MP from this area, you're a member of parliament, and you just stand and give a speech. And there's a whole structure, and it's like, it's the coolest thing. I'm like, hey, can we do that in Rodney Square? But so I go to this rally in Kamkunji, and I remember I have to apologize for my tardiness. They said it would start at, I think, 2 p.m. And I got there at, 1:30, and nobody's there. And then I waited at 2 o'clock, a few people are trickling in. And by like 4 o'clock, it starts getting going, and by 6 o'clock, the politicians we were waiting for come. And it's packed, right? And when they come, it's like I think Matiba was there, I'm sure people in here can name the Martin Shikuku with his bow tie. And they'd all go up, some of them were like 80 years old, and they'd come up and music, and they'd all start dancing. And a guy next to me, it was like being at an outdoor dance party or something. And this guy next to me says, to be a politician, you really have to know how to dance. And so that's when I said I need to take my career in a different direction. This is not for me. So I also spent a few overnights at what was it called? Mahmoud Square. There was various clubs, Visions, Dreams, K2, K1, Clubhouse, Choices, Kachoi, Tents, and groups. It's funny when you get like the mailers saying negative, that you're getting things in your mailbox now saying negative stuff about me. I don't know if you've seen it, like they're researching. I'm like, man, they just gotta go and find someone who was in Choices like 25 years ago, and they'll get all the information on me that they need. They'll get all the dirt, all the skeletons. But then I came home. And it was really lonely. And I learned then that sort of something about the complexity of life and what you need in life. It's not just about putting food on the table. It's not at a very supportive family. It's not just about supportive family. It's really about an understanding community. And many of you in this room, and some who I know are here in spirit, like Kefa, right, the late, and so many others, provided me in support and community. For me, as a Delaware kid who came back home and found that he was lost. And so I first just want to say thank you to so many of you for providing that to me. I ended up teaching. I spent time as a diplomat in Iraq. I spent a year in Iraq, and then after a year in Iraq, they really wanted me to go to Afghanistan to do another year. I wasn't a soldier, I was in the diplomatic corps. They wanted me to do another year, and I really wanted to come home. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I had a law degree. But I came home and I found my passion not in law, not in politics, not in business, but teaching. And I started teaching 6th and 7th grade math on the east side of Wilmington 10 years ago. And it shocked me, to be honest, as a kid who grew up here, a kid who saw people really struggling. Don't worry, Levi, I'll talk about you in a minute. As somebody who saw communities really, really struggling, I worked in Korogocho, near Mathare in Kenya. And you see in Iraq, people really struggling to survive, and then you come back home and you see a community and neighborhoods in so much pain, where there's incredible levels of violence, where kids are not getting anything resembling a quality education. And so I really wanted to do more. And so I did something I never thought I'd do after that experience in Kamkunji. And I ran for office. Luckily, when you run for county executive, there are no dance parties or anything. Or maybe I should say, unfortunately. And then I got elected. Some of you in this room were really, really important to me running. It was Mr. Amakobi. I knocked on his door. I'd known him before. We kind of lost touch. I knocked on his door in Middletown, and next thing I knew, he literally, imagine you knock on someone's door, a complete stranger, you knock at someone I know, then him and his wife were walking with me around the neighborhood. And that was sort of symbolic of the campaign, that it was one person, me, and then it was 2, and then it was 5, and then it was 10, and next thing you know, we had 20,000 people, 22,000 people voted for us to beat an incumbent who'd been in office for 12 years. And I suddenly was running the largest local government in Delaware. The second largest police force, Newcastle County Police. The 911 center, when you call 911, you're calling a facility, you have reports to me. The paramedics, 15 public libraries, including the Bear Library right down the road. Parks like Glasgow Park. Affordable housing. And we tried to think of our government in new ways. Tried to take everything I learned from my experiences as a teacher, but also in Kenya and Iraq, and tried to build community. We tried to include people like never before. In 2016, when Trump was elected, was the same time I was elected. We immediately signed an executive order that we're going to protect communities, that there's craziness going on in Washington, but we're going to be different here in Newcastle County. We're going to say that we are a community here. Our police is not going to be used to go around, look around, and arrest undocumented people. However, whichever way you found yourself here, you have a right to education, you have a right to housing, you have a right to health care, and we're going to do everything we can to make sure you have an equal opportunity to access the American dream. When COVID struck, and everybody said, remember it was an invisible virus and nobody knew where it was, I became obsessed with finding testing, COVID tests. There's got to be a way for us to get testing. And at the time, you might remember in China and in South Korea, they were doing testing. So we joke about it now that our staff, we were up in the middle of the night trying to communicate with Korean testing providers. Everybody was saying, every state was saying there's no tests everywhere. President Trump was saying there's no tests. And we found a testing provider, not in Seoul, South Korea, or in Shanghai, but in San Diego, California, called Curative. And we brought them to Delaware. And we were the first state in the country to have fast, free, open to everyone, oral tests that were quick. It took less than 10 minutes. We, starting in May of 2020, within 2 months of the virus being identified here, we had test sites across our county. They expanded them across the state. It was a model for the country. And keep in mind, in the county, we don't even do public health. We don't even do public health. We just felt like there was a way as human beings, based on what I saw in my experience as human beings, these are problems in America that we can solve and we can solve together. So the more that we've done this, we've said that there is no problem in Little Delaware that we cannot solve together. We are gifted here. We are gifted here. It's amazing to me that so many Kenyans, a place that I love, that I've grown to love. I'll tell you story upon story where Kenyans literally saved my life in the middle of villages, in the middle of nowhere, where me as a 22-year-old kid had no business going, right? And as you know, you show up in a village, people open their doors as a visitor. Hospitality and kindness. And I'm thinking, how do we make some of that here? Maybe not in terms of, we can try in terms of the culture, but especially in terms of our policy. To say that, hey, if you're from anywhere in the world, and you want to come and work hard, you want an opportunity, a true American dream, how do we make Delaware the place, right? How do we say that if you wanted to reference some of the questions, if you want to go to college, that's great. But we have a huge shortage of welders. I'm hearing when I go and talk to any blue-collar trade, they're saying welders, carpenters, these basic trades. There's no one. They'll hire anyone. They'll hire unskilled people, which they normally wouldn't do, just because there are no training programs. How do we develop to make sure, what if we make this the hub of welders, right? And we say, we're going to have the best welding training school in the country here in Delaware. We have the seeds of it with something called the Delaware Skills Center. It just needs additional investment. And with that investment, there'll be a tremendous return to us and a return to our kids. So 2 years ago, I started to think about running for governor. And people said I didn't have a shot. The next person was chosen, right? The lieutenant governor was chosen to be the next person. It wasn't me, and that was it. Based on what I saw in Kampunji, and the rally that I wasn't supposed to go to, I knew I couldn't dance my way to being governor, but I could bring people together, and we could work hard, and we could develop a vision for the state that wasn't really about me, that wasn't about the lieutenant governor, but it's really about all of us, and the future, the shared future that we want. How do we serve together to solve the problems that are in front of us? We have the affordability of healthcare in Delaware is among the worst in the country, right? The worst in the country. The affordability of our housing. I actually wasn't born in Delaware. I know many people in here were not born in Delaware. I was not either. I was not born in Delaware. I was born in Michigan. My parents, when I was about Levi's age, he's 6 months. When I was about his age, my parents chose to move here to Delaware. And they chose Delaware because housing was affordable. The cost of living is low. Go to New Jersey, right? Forget about it, right? But the affordability of housing is less affordable today than it's ever been in my lifetime in Delaware. And it's because we don't have leadership to say, how are we solving these problems? The population of Delaware is growing much faster than it's ever grown before. So if we keep doing what we're doing, the problems are going to keep getting worse. And what's happened in the past 2 years is we've gone from behind by 11% in the polls to now in a poll last week saying we're ahead by 14%, right? So my problem has gone from a year ago saying, no, we really have a chance, trust me, we have a chance, we can do this, to saying, don't assume we're going to win. I need you to go to the polls. I need you, whatever the polls say, right? Whatever the polls say is irrelevant if people don't go and vote. Now I say that, but I haven't voted myself. I haven't voted myself. Tomorrow, sa Sabanarusu, which in English, I don't know what that means in English, 1:30 tomorrow, Io will give you details. Io, Andrew, Marabella can all give you details of that. Sasamanarusu at the POW. I want you to come. If you haven't voted, come and vote. You can vote early. If you have already voted, come and support. Maybe find a friend to come and vote with us. Let's all go together to vote, to let our voice be heard. We also have great needs on election day. Most people will be voting on Tuesday, September 10th, which is the last day you can vote. I want you to help us out at the polls. It was amazing to me to be a kid, a Delaware kid, who went across the world to Kenya, who felt like he was just everybody literally opened their doors to me. I will tell, literally, I took the 58 matatu every day to Buru. I took 58. Sometimes I take 36 to Dandora, and it was amazing to me. I wish there was like TikTok then or Instagram that I recorded some of those interactions, because whatever is wrong with the world, when I see terrible things happen in the news, I just think back to, I was a complete stranger. I didn't have much money. I'd sit on a matatu, and people would literally invite me to their homes. They'd say, I know you're getting off at the next stop. Just come here, say hi to my mom and dad. I want them to meet you, right? If I showed any interest in speaking Swahili, I had to learn Kamba, I had to learn Kisi, and I had to learn it by the time I alighted from the matatu. Right? People they were, and I can't imagine what it's like for Kenyans coming here, knowing that culture. You come here, you get on a dark bus, you get on a dark bus and you start talking to someone, they might call the cops, right? They say, oh man, no, I was right? It's going nuts. So it's humbling to me that in 2016, when I first ran, I think half my volunteers were Kenyans, honestly. I remember going from poll to poll on election day. About half the people spoke Swahili. I found a few that didn't speak Swahili. They were kids of Kenyans, right? And it just means so much to me that all of you guys are coming out for me after your countrymen and women. I feel like I've done so much for my life and for learning and understanding. So I want to thank you. We're almost there. The way Delaware elections work is there's a primary. On Tuesday night, we're going to be selecting the Democratic and Republican candidates for governor, lieutenant governor, Congress, senator, state representative, county executive. My job is they're replacing me, as they should. And then there's another general election in November. But because Delaware, as you might know, is considered a blue state, right? It's overwhelmingly Democratic. Effectively, the election is Tuesday night. Whoever wins the Democratic primary on Tuesday night has a better than 98% chance of being the next governor of the state of Delaware. So I need us to push, and I need us to make it there. Before I close, let me just cover some of the things that were talked about, make sure I address. Cabasso asked about the medical school. I should also mention, I think I am the only candidate of any Democratic or Republican candidate who put out a platform. We put out a 100-page book saying this is what we're going to do. I feel like in this day and age, elections turn into just mudslinging, where you just end up calling each other names. I learned a lot about that watching Kenyan politics, but it's true in America too. And for me to do this, based on my experience, mostly as a 6th and 7th grade teacher, I have to know, what am I about? I can't just say, hey, vote for Matt. Say, these are the things we're gonna do. So about 8 months ago, we started traveling across the state, speaking to teachers, speaking to parents. And we put together about a 60-page education plan. We decided it was too long, nobody was gonna read it, so we cut it down to about 22 pages. We've also written policies on housing, on healthcare, on climate change, on addressing issues specifically to Sussex and Kent County, on transportation, which I know there was a question about transportation, and on economic development. So if you go to mattmeyer.org and you click on the word vision up in the upper left, you'll be able to read the whole book. It's a 100-page book. We laid it out in a way so you should quickly be able to look at it in 5 minutes and get the major points, but I encourage you to do that. Nearly all of the questions you asked will be answered already in that book. Some of you may know my wife is an emergency room physician. She's an emergency room doctor. It is so hard for us to attract high-quality doctors, both physical care doctors and also mental health physicians here in Delaware. One reason for that is our best and our brightest, when they go to school here and they want to be physicians, by definition, they can go to University of Delaware or Delaware State, but they have to leave the state to get their medical degree. And so, as Cabasso said, we're one of 4 states in the country without a medical school. I wrote an opinion piece in Delaware Online 2 years ago saying that needs to change, and it's part of our platform. We're committed to saying in Delaware there needs to be a medical school. So if your children or my children want to be medical doctors, they can do their entire schooling here in Delaware and go directly to a hospital in Delaware, get their training and practice in Delaware. That's a long-term solution to a very immediate problem. I joke with my wife, sometimes you can imagine with Levi, we're having conversations at 2:30, 3 in the morning, talking about Levi and his future. What's his world gonna look like? This is a kid that's gonna, likely, God willing, gonna be around in the year 2100, right? What's our country gonna look like? What's our world gonna look like? What's our state gonna look like? But the more I think about it, I think, well, we gotta solve problems now. We gotta solve problems now. There are literally neighborhoods here where there are shootings, where kids, 13, 14-year-olds are taking guns and shooting each other. There are areas in our state where you have to wait 6 months or more to get a medical appointment. My wife, who works in the emergency room, last week, she was there at Christiana Care, and there were over 80 people waiting in the emergency room. Most of those people didn't need to be in the emergency room. If they had a primary care physician, the problem that they had, it would have been addressed long before they ever made it to the emergency room. So, Cabasso, thanks for the question. It's something that is part of our policy. In terms of questions about undocumented individuals, I think immigration policy in our country is a mess right now. I'm tempted to get political and blame it all on Republicans, which I kind of believe in, actually. I think that we have a diverse community. America is a diverse place. We need to make rules, right? We can't just let everybody in our country. That's not safe. We need to make rules. I personally don't think in 2024 those rules should be based on what country you come from. I don't think if you have if you happen to be born in Kenya and somebody else happened to be born in Canada, that doesn't mean that the person from Canada is likely to be more successful in America than the person from Kenya. In any other setting, we call that racism, right? But in our immigration policy, it's just like, oh, we treat every country differently based on the name on the front of your passport. So my belief as county executive and as governor will be to include people. Part of our policy is creating an office of new Americans. One thing I found as county executive is that many people who were born or grew up in foreign cultures, their interactions with government are different than here. I know in Kenya, when it was at night and I was walking home from the tents in Buru, and if we saw a Kenyan police officer anywhere close, we would go running in the other direction, right? They were not your friends. They called them Wakora in uniform, right? No offense if anyone's Kenyan police, I'm not, no bias, no hate. I remember, anyway, fine, as long as I'm on this tangent, a cousin of a friend of mine, I worked with him in Malari, he had a cousin who was a Kenyan police officer, a traffic cop on Thika Road. This is before, if you've been there recently, Thika Road doesn't look like Thika Road anymore. This is like the old Thika Road where you wait for an hour and a half to move, half a kilometer. And he apparently, his cousin got a promotion to a job that I think paid him 40% more, like to be the supervisor of the traffic police officers, and he refused the promotion because he'd make less money. Right? Right? So it's different. So based on that experience, and also some of what I saw in Iraq, and a lot of what I saw as county executive, were people not just from Kenya, but from a variety of countries across the world, just their they're not getting the benefits of America the way they should. There's small business lending programs that a lot of small business owners don't have access to because they don't understand the system here. Some people, they're not setting up their companies right, not because they're trying to do anything wrong, but they just don't understand the system. So we're going to set up something called an Office of New Americans to assist in the governor's office, to assist immigrant communities across Delaware. To be I want to be the #1 place that if you have a cousin, or your friends, your neighbors have a cousin, a friend, a classmate who you grew up with anywhere in the world, and they want to come to America, right? You'll say, you know, it's not just America. Delaware is the place you come to achieve your American dream. If you do that, imagine the talent and the, yeah.
I'm so sorry, I have to interrupt because I went to ask a question around that. And only because I know it's been very good what the president did with the, I think the Council of African Diaspora that was started recently. So I'm very curious, this office that you're opening, from a representation perspective, will that be mainly diaspora? Or are you looking at, what is that demographic looking like? Because many times we say we're going to open an office for something. For me, what was started with the president, the Council for African Diaspora, it's not really representative of diaspora, so it's a little bit confusing when you start finding out, okay, we're trying to work with diaspora in terms of, you know, policy and all that. How do you ensure that their voices are being heard?
Okay, it's a great question. The challenge of an office like this is that, first of all, it's not just for Kenya. It's not just for Africa. It's actually for anyone from any immigrant community around the world. Delaware has immigrants from close to every country in the world. So making it representative is really challenging. What we're going to do is we're going to staff it with individuals from immigrant communities, a diverse group, but obviously not from every immigrant community, otherwise it would have to have 200 people in it. But then we're going to put together committees, because for me it's also two-way, right? It's not just it's about making sure that immigrant communities in Delaware are getting the full fruits of Delaware, but it's also saying to each of you, who are the people in contact you have back home that can benefit Delaware, right? We have one of the best ports in the world, the Port of Wilmington, right? My guess is if we went to immigrant communities, we were at India Fest this afternoon at University of Delaware. They filled the Carpenter Center where University of Delaware plays basketball. There were maybe 4,000 people there, right? If we can leverage that, if we can leverage the Kenyan community, the Nigerian community, if we can be organized and say, how do we all work together? Because you're Kenyans, yes, but you're also Delawareans now. And how do we work together in ways that benefit? We have a huge agricultural economy here, right? There's a huge agriculture. I've seen those flower farms in Naivasha. I've been to the Majani farms in Kericho, thank you. Kericho Tea Hotel. We see, you know, so there are opportunities there. So in terms of making it, I'll work with you and I'll work with the community to make sure we have people that are truly representing. But imagine, like from the Kenyans, we'll put together a committee and see what the committee can think of for ways that Delaware can work directly with the Kenyan community that's living here and also the Kenyan community back home. What I don't want, based on, I was a diplomat in Iraq, and one of my jobs as a diplomat in Iraq was there was all these delegations of American senators and Congress people to come and see what was going on. And they were largely a waste of money and a waste of time. They came and there was all this talk, and then nothing actually happened. People know me and watch how we operate the county. I want to make sure it's a group that actually results in action for people. Good, thank you. Let me address two other things that I'm happy to take up just because they were mentioned. There was a discussion of, Ruth mentioned solar energy and apprenticeships in solar energy. There's a whole section of our platform about green jobs. How many people heard of green jobs? Green jobs. So in the 1940s, there was a guy named Bill Hewlett, and he had a buddy, I forget his first name, something Packard. They got together in a garage and they started tinkering around. And based on their tinkering in a garage, they created a company called Hewlett Packard. in Northern California, and that company ultimately made computer chips, and that is what kicked off something called Silicon Valley. The economy was changing, right? At the time, if you think about what was going on in the economy in the 1940s and two guys like tinkering in a garage, to think that would create a multi-billion-dollar economy is crazy to think about. In the same way today, our economy is changing and is moving towards a green economy. I really think in 10, 20, 30 years, the cars we drive, the way, what fuels our electricity, it's all changing. It's all going to be very different. Solar is part of it. Wind is part of it. Hydrogen is part of it. Just like Silicon Valley, Northern California, was created as the epicenter of our economy, really in our country, in our world, because those two individuals created this thing. We need to think about how Delaware can be that place for green jobs. How do we look at things like solar, wind power, hydrogen, not just as things that, oh, that's nice, the climate is in trouble and we need to do something, which it is, but also as a huge economic opportunity. Every month, I imagine every month, just about every family here sends money to Delmarva Power, right? Just about every month, every family sends money to Delmarva Power all across our state. A sizable amount of what you send to Delmarva Power goes to someone generating the power. Almost all of those people generating the power are outside the state of Delaware. It's tens of millions of dollars every month that you're working hard and you're making, that Delawareans are working, that leaves the state of Delaware. Imagine if we could keep that here. Imagine if the sun generated the power, and instead of paying some group in Pennsylvania, which was pulling up natural gas from the ground, we're in Texas, or in Iran, or Iraq, or Saudi Arabia. Instead, we're paying a Delaware group to get solar, or wind, or hydrogen. Our plan includes making investments to make sure that we're building those companies here. Because if we're successful, not only will we be selling power to other Delawareans, but we'll be selling power to Pennsylvanians, to Marylanders, to New Jersey. We can actually start exporting power and imagine the tremendous economic benefit to our state. So I appreciate that. The last thing I want to mention, transportation. Oh wait, why don't I talk about, Patricia, you talked about seniors. Where's Patricia? Oh yeah, you talked about seniors and landscaping. First of all, thank you for your work and thank you for bringing this up. We in the county, in Newcastle County, we have a program we started called Healthy Homes, where there are many people that have lead in their home. It's a ridiculous problem for me to think in 2024, there are families that have lead paint, lead pipes, that is a serious threat, particularly to children. And so we got $6 million of federal money, and we're going through home by home and remediating homes, mostly in the city of Wilmington, but also across the county. If you know anyone that thinks they're living in an unhealthy home, please let us know. What's happened is we found when we send people in to address lead, we're finding there are other unsafe conditions. So we got additional grant money to address those other conditions. One of the things we started to see was that seniors especially have a lot of tree problems. They're like trees falling, and it's a problem with my parents as well, my elderly parents. They can't, they can't go out and just cut down a tree. Sometimes, they may not, a lot of families don't have money to pay to take down trees. So we started a program where we send out, as an extension of our Healthy Homes program, we do trees. I'm happy to, you can get my contact information from AO, who will, I'm happy to look at landscaping and other things if there are grass issues, because we got to make sure that we're taking care of the most vulnerable. Transportation, tomorrow, a little secret, tomorrow when I go to vote, and I might be the first gubernatorial, the first candidate for governor in the history of Delaware who does this. I imagine most of you, when you go to vote, you get in your car and you drive. I'm going to be biking to vote. And I I just think that we need to start thinking about transportation broadly. If we want to thrive as a community long term, we can't be so car reliant. Our Department of Transportation, it's not the Department of Cars, it's a Department of Transportation. DART and the Delaware DTC, Delaware Transit Company, I think the people there are working very hard to make sure DART provides service in various places. But to me, DART is not doing everything it should be doing. How many of you know what the Hope Center is? We bought a hotel, one of the largest hotels in Delaware, 3.5 years ago and turned it into an emergency housing facility, the largest homeless shelter in the state's history. One thing that's amazing, the shelter is not where many homeless people are. And so we knew from day one that getting people to and from the shelter would be very hard. But that's no problem. DART, that's why it exists. It took us 3 years to get a DART stop at the Hope Center. And I'm the government, right? I'm not just some average Joe. It took us 3 years. So I can't imagine the challenges that regular people have when they say, wait a second, here's a community center DART needs to be serving. We're going to rethink DART. A lot of the most forward-thinking transit agencies today in America aren't thinking so much about bus routes as much as they're thinking about how do we develop an Uber public transportation system, which means that you should be able to call on the phone or with an app, or for seniors, find some way to have scheduled group pickups, like an Uber group, where you have a vehicle just come to their door. We need transit that truly addresses the needs of seniors, and transit that addresses that looks at it from a customer's point of view, not just making a schedule. Also in our plan, if you look at our plan, it includes trains. We need train service the length of the state. There actually are train tracks there, but no one stood up and said, we're going to make this a priority. So we're going to look at transit in terms of trains, buses, bicycles, in addition to cars. So I appreciate the question. And with that, I'm gonna stick around for a bit. I'll take your question when I'm done. Thank you. I really appreciate you guys coming out. This is our time on Tuesday for us to celebrate our democracy. People in this room know as much as anyone that not everyone in the country, not everyone in the world has this opportunity to express their view. I've said every day as county executive, I'm not the boss of the county, you're the boss of the county, and I'm eager to have an opportunity to stand up here and say, I'm not the boss of the state, you're the boss of the state, but I need your help to get there. Thank you very much.
As always, Mark Meyers knows something different. He did it. So I don't know whether you watched the video that is running on TV.